Let's turn now to the unrest that is intensifying in Iran and this new warning from President Trump. Let's listen.
We're looking at some very strong options. Iran wants to negotiate. A meeting is being set up, but we may have to act because of what's happening before the meeting.
And that message comes as anti-government protests sweep across the Islamic Republic. A Washington, D.C. based human rights activist news agency says as of Sunday, at least 544 people have been killed. But despite that, Iran's top diplomat says protests are under control. CBS News senior foreign correspondent Holly Williams is in Iraq with much more.
The problem for us covering what's happening inside Iran is that, like most other international journalists, we can't get into Iran at the moment to report from the ground. On top of that, Iran's internet was cut off late on Thursday, apparently an attempt by the authorities to prevent protesters from organising and also stop them posting videos online for the outside world to see. Now, despite that, some videos are still being posted online. It seems that some Iranians are using Starlink for internet access. And those videos really tell a story. They show mass protests. They show Iranians calling for an end to the regime, an end to the Islamic Republic. Some of those videos appear to show Iranian security forces opening fire at protests, and some appear to show a large number of body bags. That is apparently protesters that have been killed. One of the human rights monitoring groups that's observing the crisis in Iran says that around 500 protesters have been killed so far. Now, we cannot independently verify that number, but it's crucial because President Trump has repeatedly threatened to hit Iran hard if protesters are killed. Though, of course, we don't know exactly where his red line is, and we also don't know what impact any U.S. intervention would have. A U.S. official told CBS News that President Trump has been briefed on options for military strikes in Iran. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that President Trump will be briefed on Tuesday by senior officials about possible steps, including not just military strikes, but using cyber weapons against Iran and imposing more sanctions against Iran. A senior Iranian official said that if the U.S. takes military action, then Iran will retaliate. And he said that American shipping and the U.S. military would be legitimate targets. Now, that is highly relevant where we are in Iraq, just across the border from Iran. Here in Iraq, there are U.S. bases, as well as around 2,000 American troops. Holly Williams, CBS News, Erbil.
And now let's go live outside the White House to CBS News White House reporter Aaron Navarro. Aaron, President Trump is weighing on how to respond to Tehran's crackdown on protesters, but what action could the U.S. feasibly take?
Mugo, good to be with you. Similar to the lead up to the attacks on Venezuela in terms of military strikes, President Trump is keeping his cards close to his chest when speaking to reporters and being asked about that. What we do know is that President Trump was briefed over the weekend on new options for military strikes on Iran, with the Wall Street Journal reporting, as Holly just mentioned, that he'll be presented with more options tomorrow to respond to protests in Iran. And we also know on his schedule, President Trump will be meeting with the Secretary of State and National Security Advisor Marco Rubio. But when it comes to military options, what the president has shared is, should he choose to do that, it does not involve U.S. boots on the ground as of now. That's what he told reporters last night on Air Force One. Other options that the president could take in terms of the U.S. intervening in Iran include more actions that would hamstring the country's economy, including sanctions, potential interdictions of vessels carrying Iranian oil, though the Energy Secretary Chris Wright said on Face the Nation this past Sunday that he didn't seem to say yes or no on whether the U.S. is looking at that, as well as cyber attacks. As President Trump said last night, he approves of Elon Musk's decision to help provide Starlink and internet to protesters in Iran during the government-imposed blackout. But when asked last night if Iran has crossed that line to trigger U.S. actions, President Trump said, quote, "They're starting to, it looks like." So this is something that seems to be a high priority for President Trump going into this week.
Okay, Aaron Navarro outside the White House for us today. Thank you so much for your reporting.